This is a phenomenon known as neoteny, where childlike characteristics are retained into adulthood. This is sometimes an important aspect of evolution. It occurs in different species and may have played a role in the development of intelligence in humans in their deviation from earlier primate forms, e.g. larger head, loss of fur, etc. But I think you are referring to characteristics that are found in children that have been lost in adults, such as curiosity, openness to new ideas, and unrestrained creativity. Obviously not things like size, physical abilities, knowledge, etc. In that respect you are correct. Many high IQ people are like children in some of those ways. They are highly curious and they ask far more questions than others. They are less likely to simply accept facts that are given to them and often question the answers they find. Asking the primal question, why, is a very important part of human development. Indeed, it is when children stop asking questions that the true loss of innocence begins. Think about a 3 or 4-year-old. The question why often dominates their exploration of the world around them and their conversations with others. Unfortunately, the answers that they receive are often not conducive to learning. Sometimes the answers are polite, "Daddy's busy right now. Ask me again later," or the answer can be harsh, "I'm busy. Don't bother me," or worst, "You're too young. You wouldn't understand." The answers they receive may be nice or rude, but after receiving responses like this 20 or 30 times, the children finally do learn something that is life-altering. They learn not to ask questions anymore. Eventually, they learn and believe that they are too stupid and accept and internalize that fact. Then after enforcing this belief for a few more years, we send them off to kindergarten and wonder why they have problems learning. It is because we may have inadvertently taught them to stop questioning and trying to learn about the world and people around them. High IQ people are often those children who received different types of answers. My father was a nuclear physicist with 3 PhDs, but whenever I asked him a question, he would stop, drop to one knee, look me in the eye and answer my question, not in baby talk, but in adult language. My questions to him, however, trivial, were important enough to him that he would respond to me as if I were an adult. I remember once as a child asking what caused thunder, expecting to hear a story about angels moving furniture in heaven or giants bowling in cloud castles in the sky. Instead, he told me that thunder was a shock wave that propagated through the air that was generated by the rapid thermodynamic expansion of air as the result of an electrostatic discharge between the air and the ground. I did not understand a fraction of those words for a decade, and that answer resulted in a lot of additional questions from me about what those words meant. Predictably, I grew up with an excellent vocabulary and a sound understanding of science. Perhaps high IQ people are those that remain curious, because they were never taught that they were too stupid to understand. Perhaps high IQ people think outside of the box because they were never placed in one and told to stay there. Perhaps high IQ people were children who were invited to play with ideas as earnestly as they played with their toys and they never lost their intellectual innocence, or had it beaten into submission or taken from them. Perhaps all children are born with much higher IQ than we suspect and that, unfortunately, most children are taught not to ask, why, and not to bother mommy and daddy with such stupid questions. Children learn what they have been taught, and when you encounter adults who are narrow-minded or close-minded, unthinking, and incurious, you should consider what they must have been taught when they were young and how well they learned those lessons. High IQ people may be more childlike in some ways, simply because they never had those curious, marvelous, insightful, unrestrained characteristics taken away. They may have simply never lost them, and that is part of what makes them different from others, or special.